Alright, so in today's video we're going to be taking a short break from trains to do some LEGO RC stuff. I actually did quite a few LEGO RC videos a while back. The algorithm really didn't treat them very favorably, which is fine. The algorithm is a bit competitive, so if you were to search LEGO RC, you'd have to scroll way down before you'd see my channel. Whereas with trains, I think I've done enough there to get a little bit higher in the search ratings. But it doesn't matter. I'm here to do videos I want to make, and anyone who wants to follow along can. So this is the Top Gear rally car, and I've upgraded it with real RC components inside here. So we'll just really quick kick it on. So you've got proportional steering, and it's very responsive. That's the entire problem. Many of the videos I made were basically belly aching about Bluetooth and how laggy it is, especially if you can get a decent amount of speed out of a vehicle. It's just not good with a controller, and I hate using a phone. I really hate it. I have heard that Buiz is working on some kind of controller implementation. If it's Bluetooth, my hopes aren't extraordinarily high. And then we've got a Buiz motor in there. I still kept that, and it's pretty snappy. It does okay. I did make some changes in how it's built to get less of the gears skipping like it was in my last video, where I used a Fly Sky remote and then plugged in USB to my phone, and then used Bluetooth and the Brick Controller app to control the Top Gear rally car, and it was okay, but just the lag mostly in the steering was just a bit too much. So at that point I kind of gave up on LEGO RC until I could do something like this and use real components. So I've already kind of done my testing with this, so I'm going to take it apart and we can look at the components inside, because I'm going to be swapping them over to another buggy that I'm going to try out. So the problem I had with this is it would run for a while, and then it would just kind of stop. I'm thinking it has to be the motor overheating or something like that, some kind of protection in the motor. The ESC was not hot at all. That's the electronic speed control. That's what's running your motor. The battery was cool, so it wasn't anything like that. I'm trying to remember how this thing comes apart. It is a pain to get apart. Okay, so we got that off. So this is the antenna from the receiver there. So let's get this unplugged and take this out. This is a 3S LiPo battery, 11.1 volts. I think that's like nominal voltage. So it's probably a little bit higher than that, closer to 12. Let's see. This stuff, I just kind of shoved it in here. I knew this was going to be temporary. I just did some testing with it yesterday, and I'm already taking it out, so that's why I didn't kind of do a better job of getting this stuff in here. So I'll redo all this on the next vehicle. So the main component that makes all this possible is the Geek Servo. So I was pretty happy to find this. I think I ordered this from Amazon, if I remember correctly. You can either put an axle on this side or this side. The mounting's kind of the same either way. It's basically which way the wire goes. You've got a pinhole there just on this one. These others are basically half pins. It'll fit into those. Same on the other side. You've got some mounting points here. These are half. These look like whole, but so if you were to use it like that, you could do some mounting on the back there. For the receiver, we're using a Dumbo RC 6-channel transmitter and receiver combo. It's pretty cheap. I want to say it's about 40 bucks at the most, really. And I think I got some of these cheaper. And these aren't just chosen because they're the cheapest option or something. These are actually great. If you've ever watched Kevin Talbot's channel, the guy that's building a monster truck. He does a lot of RC vehicles, some of the fastest RC vehicles in the world. And this was one that he swore by. And I have 2 of these now, and a lot of my vehicles actually use these. They have insane range, and they're very responsive. Like if you hook up a good high dollar servo and just flick this, you can see the servo follow it. That's kind of an easy way to test how responsive a steering is. And you've got plenty of controls here that are going to be very important. You can reverse your steering servo, or actually the motors too. You've got your trim, and then you've got your travel, or actually that's the trim, that's the travel. So you can only make it go so far, and that's extremely important with what we're doing here. Because unlike a Lego or third-party servo that goes 90 degrees, this goes a little bit more than that. Let's go ahead and hook it up and try it. First, let's look at this. This is a quick run WP crawler brushed ESC. This is just what I had on hand. These are about 40 bucks. It's probably not really the right choice for what we're doing, but like I said, I just had it on hand, and it's nice and compact. It doesn't even have like a fan. I think it came with a fan, but it really isn't needed for this. When I was running this car and it kept stopping on me, I could feel the ESC, and it was barely warm to the touch. You couldn't even tell it was on, basically. So let's look at just our components here. We're going to plug up our battery and plug in our servo. And I'm going to just use this as a motor. I don't have to hook anything up, but just for the sake of trying this out. So I took the motor control wires and went to 2 power functions connectors, and these are actually reversed from each other. So if you have a dual motor setup and your motors are aligned and you need them to run in opposite directions in order to actually propel the vehicle forward and back, this makes it super easy. If they needed to go the same direction, you could use the same connector, but these connectors aren't very high amp capacity. They get hot if you run a stack of these and run a bunch of motors. They get hot. Ask me how I know. So let's kick on our transmitter first. And that 3 beeps is because it's a 3S battery. That's what that is. And then now we can look at our steering here. And you can see that's less than 90 degrees, but that's because I adjusted it that way. So this is the travel down here. So let's turn this all the way up. And you can see it goes a little bit farther than 90 degrees, but having this travel adjustment here, and what you can actually do, hopefully you can see that you can adjust it while you're turning. That makes it easy to do inside the vehicle. And the trim adjustment is great too, because sometimes the teeth on Lego gears just don't line up exactly right. So you can adjust the trim and get that nice and straight, which you can't do with any other kind of Lego servo. So we're really doing a lot here that you either can't do with Lego or can't do very well. I know with the new powered up stuff, you have a little more options, but that depends on how you do it. And if you're like me, you're probably mixing BooWiz with third-party software like Brick Controller and Lego components and the other third-party components. And so it becomes kind of a nightmare to get everything right. But this was kind of super easy. And again, I had all these parts on hand. I even have the program card. So what I could do is plug it in here. Kick it on. And you can set all of your values here. So I kind of went through and just kind of looked. Because like I said, this is set up for a crawler. So it has some specific functions that would be good for a crawler. But I just kind of set it up for this. You can also adjust your BEC voltage to 6 or 7.4. That's actually for the steering servo. I actually don't remember where I had it set. It's probably fine just while I'm doing some testing. So let's get this vehicle out of the way. I think I'm kind of done with it at this point. This motor's definitely kind of leaking some of the lubricant. If you can probably see that there. I don't know how normal that is. I feel like I probably had a lot of friction through here. I didn't do any lubrication through like the axle here, anything like that. Could have done better, but like I said, this was just a test. And you can see that's where the Geek Servo is mounted, where it was a an L size powered up motor. So that's probably it for that project. It was just an easy something I already had together to try things out. This is the part of the video where some people will unsubscribe. That's fine. This is a Mold King set. This is the instructions for it. It's very cheap. It's like 60 bucks or something. It comes with their version of the power function servo. It is not proportional. It's just 90 and 90 either way. It works okay. It comes with a controller like this. And before starting this modification, I did do some testing with it. It runs okay. It's kind of fun. It's maybe a bit better than some of the Lego RC offerings. It's got some speed to it. It's pretty easy to get going with it. You just have to know, I think I had to Google it, or maybe through testing. Press L like twice, and that makes both the motors on the rear run together. And then if your steering is reversed, you hold down the two buttons here, and then it will reverse it. It's a weird system, and I can't really find any good documentation on it. If I remember correctly, the battery box supplies about 7.2 volts. So this should be substantially faster. These are, if I'm not mistaken, these are the high-speed variant of the Power Functions L size motor for Mold King. And they're basically direct drive to the tires. So I've already taken apart the front here and shoved in the Geek Servo. So now I've got to cram all of this stuff. All right, no reason to have that plugged in. These are very dangerous. If you don't know, be sure to look up things online before you mess with these. This is not a tutorial. This is more of a vlog of my testing. And that's why I'm using kind of off-the-shelf vehicles and modifying them. Over time, maybe I will build a nice RC vehicle, or maybe something from Rebrickable, and then modify it with this stuff so I can get some good speed and control with it. So it's a very simple vehicle, and it's kind of sturdy. And it's less sturdy up front since I've made this modification, because the servo kind of held it together. This front section was at a bit more of an angle, and it also does this, which I kept that in. It kind of pivots right there, but I figure that's just a little bit more steering, or not steering, suspension. I think it'll be fine. So let's get all this crammed in there, and then we'll take it outside and take it for a test drive. All right, well, there it is. That's quite the mean machine, isn't it? And cramming the components in was a lot easier than the last vehicle. I've got the battery pretty secure in there with this zip tie, because I want it to be kind of in a cage. I don't want it exposed. If this battery gets pierced or punctured, it will start a fire that creates its own oxygen. You can't put it out. It's a thing. So if you want to look up LiPo battery fire online, you'll find plenty. But the most dangerous points with these batteries is when you're charging them, and then also physical damage. So just those warnings out of the way. This is not a tutorial. Do whatever you're doing at your own risk. So let's go ahead and kick on our transmitter. I'm going to set the trim to straight down the middle, and we'll just set the travel to like 50, and then we'll adjust it as we go. So let's go ahead and kick it on. Let's do our throttle first. So it is reversed, but thankfully we just flip our switch there, and now it goes the correct direction. Again, I could have taken apart this so that I have zip tied. I could have tested this first and swapped the two motor connectors, and that would have done the same thing as for reversing the direction of the motors. But again, that's why those connectors are mirrored, so one goes one direction, one the other, for a use case like this. Now, let's set up our steering. The trim will end up adjusting on while we're driving it, but you can see you can set a starting point. But we're just gonna, you basically have to drive it. You can't eyeball this, especially since there's so much slop in Lego. This is Mold King, but it's fairly comparable to what you'd get with Lego. And look, Mold King, I know people have unsubscribed and berated me in the comments about having any Mold King at all. Honestly, I'm not very much a fan of, especially the system pieces, but even the Technic pieces they're just kind of, they're not quite up to Lego standards. They also basically steal and sell sets that are based on either Lego sets or even just from Rebrickable, just from people in the Lego community. I am not a fan of that at all, and I've pretty much kind of stopped buying them. The sets I did buy that were taken from Lego fans, I found their instructions and purchased them. But that's basically where I'm at with them. I like their motors. I'm fine with buying these. Basically all the sets I bought, I kept the motors and sold all the pieces. But it was basically just so I could have an opinion on them. And again, I really didn't know the whole story when I first got involved with it. Anyways, all that out of the way, let's set our travel. So if we turn, and then we can start adjusting that. And basically where it stops, wow. So with this setup, it looks like we can get 100% of the travel. The steering doesn't, not bottom out, I don't know the word, but it doesn't stop mechanically. But I might adjust that once we start driving if it turns too sharp or something like that, I guess. Which, again, with proportional control, you are absolutely in control. So you can make small little adjustments as you're driving. This is something I don't know if Lego will ever do, and that's kind of upsetting to me. So that's, I think, everything I wanted to say. Let's go out and test this out and see how it does. Okay, well, that was something. While it ran, it was really fun to drive. It was nice to drive something responsive. That was more fun than any time I spent with like Lego RC because it's just too laggy. It doesn't feel fun. Having that instant control is what makes it fun. So anyways, I'm pretty sure we burned up a motor right now. I think this one's trying. I think it's got some gear damage inside. I kind of fully expected this. These aren't designed for this. They are a little warm. Not too bad, really. We're really pushing them farther than they would normally go. What I could do, I don't have a battery this small, but I could get a 2S battery, and that'd be, you know, like a 7.4 volts nominal voltage, so maybe about 8 volts, something like that. And that might be okay. But we also did have some parts flying off of here. You know, like this piece broke. It's not the most sturdy model I've ever used. Again, it was a very cheap set, and that's why I was able to, I took it outside. I ran it through the grass even. I don't think I got that on camera. That was just before the motor died. Might have been what killed it. So I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments saying what an idiot I am. They're perfectly welcome to do that. I don't care. But this was all just testing. So I have everything I need except for drive motors. Or use a smaller battery with these type motors, and maybe they will survive a bit longer. So that was basically the video. Basically testing this Geek Servo steering servo. And I'm amazed with it. I love it. They're cheap. I bought a 4-pack, and I don't remember what I paid, but it wasn't much at all. And they work really well. So they definitely get a thumbs up. Nothing in this video is sponsored. So far, I've never done any sponsored content. If you've done any projects like this and you want to share, you can do that on Instagram, or I'm on Twitter. I'm hardly ever on there now. But we also have a Discord. That's the best place to join, and you can share pictures and videos and ask questions about your Technic RC stuff, or all, you know, with trains, Lego, anything Lego. We're always talking about in there. And we've had a good group in there now. I think we're closing in on like 100 members. When I'm recording this will be, so I'm sure it'll be more than that by the time this video releases. But I am always interested to see what people are building. So that concludes this test video. And we'll see you guys in the next one.